Okay, so before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to celebrate a significant milestone for the Brews Business Podcast. It's been an incredible year since we first hit the airwaves, sharing inspiring stories, invaluable insights, and powerful advice from industry leaders, seasoned professionals, and passionate entrepreneurs. So in the course of over the last year, we've had the privilege of connecting with these countless listeners of ours and fostering a community of motivated individuals, all committed to learning, growing, and achieving success in their business journeys. It's been an incredible, rewarding experience, and we're excited about the road ahead. As we celebrate our first anniversary, we extend our heartfelt thanks to incredible guests who have shared their wisdom and experiences, our amazing sponsor, I Love Joe, and most importantly, our dedicated listeners for all of your guys' unwavering support, dedication, and engagement. So over the last year, Brews Business has had a lot of breakthroughs. We've had plenty of upgrades. Thank you to Blue Studio for allowing us to record in their space. And happy anniversary to the Brews Business Podcast. We'll celebrate with a little bit of Bullmore or coffee, right? Cheers. Glass of water. Stay healthy. Cheers. It's a little bit better. So that's our drink for today. I Love Joe is an official coffee sponsor of the Brews Business Podcast. They're brand new, women and veteran owned, which is a pretty cool combination. They've got 4 different blends from Bombs Away. They have the coolest titles.
Yeah.
Hail to the Chief. And then what's that last one?
Bugle Boy.
Bugle Boy. And there's a couple others too. So their website will be launching sometime in September. And when that goes live, we'll let you guys know. And we're also recording a special episode with them at the end of August. So you guys will be able to learn more about I Love Joe and some of their experiences in their journey. So in today's episode, it's all about adaptation and resilience and the day-to-day reality of running a small business. So join us today, guys, as we dive into the nuts and bolts of navigating the world of small business. And our special guest today, Kyle Sullivan with Unleash the Champ.
Come on, he put some bass in
Yeah,
there.
he did.
Unleash the champ.
Oh, that's too cheesy. We can't do that, right?
Come
Just
on,
kidding.
no, you turn that thing up.
How's it going, man?
Great, man, dude. I'm when you posted it was y'all's 1 year. It's super cool. I just what am I, like 2.5 years in, so I get the grind of podcast, and your studio looks much better than mine.
Oh, thanks.
Has
it been a year since you were in here?
That's right.
Yeah, it's probably been about a little less than a year.
A little less than a year.
Was it around
Yeah.
Christmas, maybe?
Yeah,
A little bit
Mhm.
before
6-8
then?
months.
Fall, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's super exciting, and I said I'd come back anytime, and then to be on the 1 year episode, come on now.
Come on now.
Well,
Come on now.
It's just good energy, man.
Thanks,
Good
man.
energy.
Yeah. So let's talk about let's just start some conversation, like some real world examples. I know you've got some plenty of experiences, and so do I, that we have recently shared. But Kyle, has anything come to mind where you're like, man, I recently just had a conversation with somebody and this happened, and is it good or bad? I know you're involved heavily in the BA chamber and stuff like that, or the community and the
Yeah.
council and stuff. So you work with like a lot of small businesses.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know?
I think right now it's getting people to, like, the market matters, but it doesn't matter as much as we think it does.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation where I'm going, people are spending money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, are they spending it with your widget, trinket, service, whatever? I just saw a video where spending hasn't decreased with this recession. People are just spending differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going, a lot of times we could think, oh, people aren't buying our stuff. And so we can get discouraged. It's like, no, you just have to make it crystal clear the value that you bring to your audience, your ideal client. And then the only natural response will be for people to buy your services, products, trinkets, widgets, etc.
It's funny you say that because I too, I've been talking to people and they're like, oh, everything's just slowing down. I'm like, well, kind of, but not really. I mean,
Right.
people are still they're just spending it. Like it's, I think again, we're in Tulsa, which is kind of nice, right? So there's always, well, at least right now, there's an influx of people moving in, and there's a shortage of housing, there's a shortage of infrastructure. So thankfully, we're kind of in a good spot for us.
Right.
But yeah, maybe money habits do seem to be changing. I've noticed, but like you said, is it really that much? I don't think so. And I think you mentioned bringing value in your business. That's something that we've talked about a lot of times, where we might, for whatever reason, feel like our value isn't quite up there yet, and or you wonder if, hey, if I stop serving these people down here, is it going to affect everything? And it's like, well, not really. I mean, you find your people, and yeah, they'll decrease, but the reality is, like, in my industry, we put a minimum on who we mow. Well, that knocked out a lot of people who were like, wait, a minimum? Like, dude, I don't want to pay $55. I'll pay 40. And it's like, well, that's our minimum. But then we were able to service bigger customers, bigger houses, because it opened up a whole. Those people are less likely to go buy a mower whenever a recession comes in. Dude, they're still going to keep paying for that mow.
Right.
Right? But the people that would normally be paying 40 are like, man, $40, I'll just go to Lowe's. I'll buy myself a mower. I'll just do it myself.
Right.
And I totally get that. I mean, I still mow my own house. But the reality is, like, people get worried about people aren't spending money. No, you just got to show your value. You got to show why it's worth to spend with you. And sometimes, I mean, it does come down to just going a little extra, for that customer to prove your value. And then once you build that trust with them, it goes a little farther.
Yeah, and I think it's an important thing that you bring up is, like, knowing who you're going to go after. Like, the people who aren't affected by the recession are folks that are typically of a higher income.
Mm-hmm.
They're annoyed by it, but they're not affected as much. And so you having your minimum, they're like, oh, okay, that's the minimum.
Right.
Tulsa's always been really weird in economics compared to especially the coast, right? Like Tulsa with COVID and everything a little bit before and after that, like it never really hit like the rest of the country did.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't think it will. I mean, at this point, I really.
Tulsa's pretty insulated.
Yeah,
it's a bubble.
I like that.
Why do you think that happened? Or why do you think that is? Is that just the kind of people that are here, or is it like, oh, the mayor did that, or the governor did this, or like?
I would say it mostly goes back on the people.
Yeah, think about like migration. We came in on the East Coast. Naturally, we want to go searching for something else. Well, the next thing you're looking for as a mammal, as an animal, is you're looking for water. So you go complete to the opposite side of the country, and you find water there. Well, then it gets overpopulated, and then where do you go? To the middle of the country. There's still water there, but now we're running out of water on the West Coast, and like, oh shit, let's get out of here. We had all those fires, and it's like, well, that's just nature kind of running its course. Well, we naturally, as animals that we are, run away from those things, and we come to Tulsa.
Come to the Midwest.
Come to Tulsa.
Adapt to the Midwest life.
Right. I mean, and frankly, I mean, life's good here. I've always liked Tulsa. Yeah, when I was younger, I was like, oh, I want to get out of here. But I think the older I get, I'm like, it's not so bad.
And the more places I've been, the less likely I want to leave Tulsa.
Right.
Have you lived anywhere else?
No.
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana. And
New Orleans?
No.
Nolans.
Monroe. So Northeast Louisiana, and went to school in Arkansas. And I moved up here 11 years ago. And I think we don't have as much of a contrast in economic, like in financial, maybe net worth, as some of the coasts. Okay. There's a bigger wealth gap on the coast, and so when things hit, it really hits people. Whereas I think in the Midwest,
it's a little more stable.
It's a little more stable.
It doesn't have as much volatility.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have billionaires that live here, and then the other half of the people that live here are poor. Living on the streets, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, have you been to New Orleans in the last couple of years? Okay.
No, it's probably been like 5 or 6 years.
I was there last summer. Rough.
Mm-hmm.
It was sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Tulsa's sketchy now.
Tulsa is kind of sketchy in some spots.
It's getting there.
I've been seeing that. I'm like, man, where do all these homeless people come from?
Do you know the different cities will basically ship them?
Yeah. Well, I found that out not too long ago because I was like, wait a second. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Some of them don't bother me. But I see them walking literally from like the other day. I was in Sapulpa and I see this dude walking. He's been around for a while. I'm like, oh, that's just one of the neighborly Sapulpa homeless people, right? Next thing I see him in Glenpool, I'm like, oh, dude, that's like a solid trek.
It's a heck of a walk.
Yeah, how'd you make that walk? Now he's in Glenpool, and who knows where he's going next? And I'm like, man, that for the most part, they don't bother me. But I do see like, wow, there's been an influx in Tulsa. Some like depending on where you go, yeah, Tulsa's good. Just you gotta be Not in Tulsa.
Be smart.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Be aware.
Be
Yeah.
aware.
Suburbs.
Abel, what do you think? How important is it to be adaptable in business?
Oh, man. Do you know I was a mechanic?
For the last couple of weeks, probably.
That's right. That's how adaptable you got to be. You know, things break. Business goes up. Business goes down. Sometimes you're wondering, why aren't people buying my products? Why aren't they buying my services? Sometimes you're wondering why a piece of equipment's broken, you know, and you're always wondering what's the next thing I can do for my business to develop it. And frankly, man, a lot of times business is just about roughing it out, you know, and you got to be able to take that hit, take that whatever it is. Like the example today, you know, man, there's been this machine that we've had down for 6 weeks, and we haven't had it going because we were waiting on it to get looked at, and then we're waiting on a part, and finally the part came in, and then like Tuesday or Wednesday night, I stayed at the shop till like 9:30 to get it fixed, and I put oil in it the next morning, and it doesn't fix, and I'm like, damn it, that part was $4,500. I'm like, shit. This
Hydraulic
sucks.
pump or something?
Yeah, hydraulic motor.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it. Okay, so what's next? Well, I started overlooking everything. Well, it's the next part in line is the drive motor. Well, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to have to order that part. You know, you have to adapt, whatever. Spent the money. Well, you call it in. There goes another $1,000. Like, that sucks. But you go in, you replace the part, and it still doesn't work. And there's literally nothing else it could be.
I hate that game.
It's nothing else it can be.
I know
And-
you know
and-
the struggle of that.
And the reality is, Chance has worked with hydraulics. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's like,
You got open loop and closed
Yeah,
loop. You got
right.
two different systems.
but it's very simple. Fluid goes in, fluid comes out. That's the only way shit works. And I ended up figuring out that whenever it went to Ditch Witch to get diagnosed, which was whether it was correctly or misdiagnosed. I think they plugged one of the lines, and that was why we ended up buying a pump this morning. But nonetheless, figured it out, got it going. Machine works again. That made me feel real good. But that's kind of the way business is, you know, and whether it's equipment, financials, a customer, you know, all kinds of facets of the business, you know, an order that you might place that didn't come right. Like, I'm sure, you know, I want to say with our irrigation flags one time, you're like, oh, these are wrong. And I was like, oh, I really don't care. Right. But that's something that could have been a whole adaptability thing of, okay, well, how do I figure this out without just making it look super professional and just not even owning up to it. And it's like a lot of that you mentioned earlier. It's like, well, you have to take responsibility for things, you know, and that helps with adaptability. Once you take responsibility for the fact of like today, I literally, once I figured that out, I walked inside. I told my little brother, I was like, hey, come here. And he's like, what? I was like, I need to talk to you. He's like, okay. And then my sister was in our office, and I was like, hey, I need to talk to you. She's like, okay. And they're like, what is it? I was like, I'm telling you guys this together so you guys hold me accountable. I didn't look at that machine properly. I could have diagnosed that myself. I got lazy. You know, I let the ball drop. And because of that, we spent over $5,000 where we didn't have to spend. You know, and we spent 6 weeks down, which is, God, that's a lot of money. And it's just funny because through all that, what happened at the end of it? Well, make sure you hold me responsible next time. Like, that's really all you can do in business. And that comes down to adaptability. Is like, you put yourself in the business. I think you brought up a stat. There's 1.2 million new business owners.
In the last 18 months?
18 months.
Something like that, right? Like
1.2 million registered businesses in the U.S. in the last 18 months.
Right. See, so that's a lot. And if you think about that, it's like, well, really nobody knows what your struggles will be individually, but you're going to run into struggles. And put your head down, get after it, and then whenever you realize that you spent money because you got lazy and you didn't diagnose it yourself, and you could have caught it and you could have had it up and running that same day if you would have just done what you know how to do, you know. But it's one of those things where it's like, hey, in business, you'll do that a lot. And I think the biggest lesson I learned with this whole thing is like, well, can't be lazy. You know, you got to, no, it's your business. You got to look when there's a problem. Nobody's going to try to fix it. We were talking about SOPs a second ago, right? And those are a pain to make. It's just such a hassle to make SOPs. But it's like somehow you have to take responsibility to create those things because nobody else is going to do it for you. And then sometimes, you know, like I took a gamble here with hey, I'm going to take it to go get diagnosed somewhere where they'll diagnose it super quick, super easy. It'll be a for sure fix.
Then all I got to do is swap a part and be good to go.
Boom, we're done. And then you get that, and it's like, damn it. Okay, well, you know, you got to learn how to adapt. And at the end of the story, it's your choice. You decided to start the business. You know, it's not for everybody. 1.2 million. You know, I don't know what the loss ratio there is, but I know we've all been in business long enough to know. Yeah, sometimes you want to give up. It don't matter how long you're in there. Sometimes you're just like, I'm done. Like I give up on all this, and then you know you look and you're like, I can't. I've been doing this for a year. I can't stop now. You know, or however long we've been in business. Like, oh, okay, one more, and then before you know it, it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and it's like, wow, look at all those systems that happened. Look at all those trials we went through. Look at all this growth that we've had. And all we've been doing is putting our head down and getting after it. And nobody really knew what we were doing. And we've all developed our businesses. It's fun, you know? But again, you have to take ownership for anytime something happens. Like you said earlier, maybe not, hey, it's anyone's fault, but it's your responsibility. It's your business. You know, it was your choice to sign that paperwork to make sure it was legit. It was your choice to do it all, whether you hired employees, didn't hire employees. And it's like, well, you know, that's the best thing you can do. Learn from it and then move on. Start the next thing, and you know, you stay sitting too long. That's the bad thing.
Yeah, Kyle, I can see you brewing over there.
I just love it.
So adaptability in business and how to pivot effectively.
It's the lifeblood of business.
Oh,
You have to. One of our axioms is we have married the mission and we date the model. And so. Like the mission of what I do is help unlock the capacity that people desire at its basic sense. But how that has done, I mean, I've done really small groups. I've done early morning groups. I've done lunchtime groups. I've done one-on-one coaching. I've done masterminds. I've done incubator. I've done a lot. And part of that's my personality. I love folks that are like, okay, ready, fire, aim. You know, like I'm like, fire, ready, aim. I think of something. I go, oh, cool, let's do that. And that in and of itself, you know, sometimes gets me in trouble, but I think it's part of the beauty. And what I'm doing now, July 1st was the start of year 4. And what I was doing in the beginning is the people different, but the purpose is the same. And so with being able to be adaptable, being able to look at yourself and go, you know what? Like, but the purpose is the same. I'm doing this. I signed up for this. I asked for this. That's the thing I talk with my coach a lot is I asked for this. I asked to sign those papers. I asked to start talking about this thing. I asked to create this. So if I asked for it, I'm built for it. And sometimes you just gotta like white knuckle it.
mm-hmm.
And I heard this story about a Navy SEAL instructor in Butts, like their 8-week, like hell weeks. And he would tell the guys going through it, he's like, look, I'm gonna ask you to do hard things every single day. And I want you to commit something to me that you'll quit tomorrow. And if when today gets here, if you say, I'll quit tomorrow, you'll get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, dude, like in the last 6 months, I'm telling my wife, like, I'm burning this whole thing to the ground. This was a cool, like, 3 years. It's cool. I'm done. This is exhausting. We have a 2 and a 3-year-old. Like, I'm good. I'm going to go get a job. Go crush something, use this. It was a great learning experience. And then my wife goes, well, are you supposed to do that? As a pastor for 12 years, we talked about before, like our faith is central to us. And I'm like, nope, I hadn't got that yet. So I'm going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's typically like as cliche as it is, but in the midst of like, I'm about to burn this whole thing to the ground is right when we see the next breakthrough or the next thing that we could do.
Shoot, I experienced that last year about this time.
Yeah.
Same standpoint. Man, I have so many thoughts. I should have just had a notepad.
I know,
should be
'cause-
taking notes right here.
Go
What?
ahead.
Okay. So one of them, I'm not gonna be able to remember all of them, but one of them is I met a business owner yesterday, and it made me think about how adaptable he is to the different parts of his business and how he's still so involved in all those different areas. A lot of the times, business owners fail to be involved, and they want to just have the experience of starting a business, hiring someone to run it, and then stepping away, and then all of a sudden be a millionaire or whatever, right? Have all this freedom. And so I respect the ones who still stay involved in the day-to-day activities, such as yourself. I don't know about you or you, but so I know you do. And so it's respectable for the ones who actually like get on the sales floor, take out the trash, look at the books and still good core values and motivate your team and staff and stuff like that. Not just be like, all right, what's our profit for this week? So that's always refreshing to meet those kind of business owners. And more of a day-to-day being adaptable in my experience. Yesterday, one of my team members received an email. It's a pretty long email, pretty lengthy email from one of our clients. And it was like, all right, well, half of the stuff you guys have done has to go out the window. So we were like, oh, well, you should have told us 2 weeks ago because you saw it or everything and you didn't say anything. So we're like, all right, we're good. And then, so we're getting pulled from two different directions anyway. So we wound up having this conversation with the client. Everything worked out really well. But throughout the day, I had to be adaptable and go back and forth with that team member to go, okay, well then how do we address this? Okay, well, how do we respond to these key points? Okay, well, at some point, let's just not respond at all. Let's go see him in person. And a quarter of my day just disappeared. And I had plans to do X, Y, and Z. Didn't get it done, of course. I think a couple of them, I stayed up late last night and got a few of them done. But I had to adapt to what was happening right then and there. Maybe an piece of equipment breaks down. One of your team members didn't deliver sod or something didn't get delivered on time. Okay, well then now you have to learn how to adapt and teach your team how to adapt as well and say, okay, it's okay that this didn't happen. We can transition. Well, let's reprioritize and do X, Y, and Z instead.
What came to mind earlier, you were talking about how it's always on that edge. Sometimes you just have to white knuckle it, right? And it's always on the edge of like, I'm done, right? And I've felt that because this year I feel like I've had to get back into the field over the past couple months way more than I have over the past couple of years, which is exhausting. I mean, like you said, dude, I have a 5, 3, and a 1-year-old. I get you, bro. It's exhausting. Not only exhausting, it's mentally exhausting because you want to be there the whole time and you can't, right? But over the last few months, I wanted to push my company in a different direction, right? Your similar thing that you're doing right now. And because of that, I was out in the field doing jobs that we knew how to do, but we were not like very well versed in, right? But they're higher profit jobs and they're better. They're just cooler, man. Just really, really, they're just cooler. And my guys knew what they were doing, but they didn't feel confident per se, right? So I decided to adapt and say, instead I'm just sending you guys out there with our operations manager who knows how to do this job. So he could absolutely lead the entire show. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to run the shows with you guys. Like, we're going to figure this out all together. I'm going to be a grunt, but I'm the grunt that has the power to say yes or no. It's basically all it comes down to. And I know how to run equipment. I'm pretty good at it. So I can make stuff happen for you guys, but ultimately you guys are running this job. And man, it's been a couple of months of now training and sitting with the guys, and we're wrapping up on a couple of really larger jobs. And yesterday, it's been raining all week. Obviously, the podcast crew doesn't know that, or the audience doesn't know that, but it's been raining all week, so we haven't really been able to work. Well, we finally got out to work yesterday because we had to wait on this job to dry out. And yesterday, on Thursdays, I hang out with my kids while my wife goes helps my mom clean some houses. And so I had to get my girls, and I didn't get to go see this job site. I had zero communication with anyone at work, which is like unheard of. And now my operations manager, my brother, knew the schedule. He knew where to send them. He knew to put, hey, you're going to finish this job. But I didn't tell them, hey, you need to take this equipment. I didn't tell them you need to do this, you need to do that. Nothing. The guys just went. Well, I went today to go see this job. Mind you, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. By the time I went and picked up equipment and got to the job site, the guys had already been there for about an hour and a half. They were already crushing it. And I go check out this job site, and it was beautiful. I mean, everything was done to a T. Even my foreman, I walked with the job site, and he's like, well, I got to fix that before I leave today. I got to do this. I'm like, man, I didn't have to say a word. And all of that training, all of that time and effort spent with them, that felt so just exhausting to go home at the end of the day after 105-degree weather, just beaten down on your back and dude, you're just trying to say hi to your kids, and you're just like, dude, I just want to eat, take a shower, I'm going to pass out. Like, I might pass out in the shower while I'm eating. Like, that's how tired I am right now. But you make it through that, and then literally today I showed up to that job site, and I was just like, wow, thank you guys. Like, you guys just crushed it. And it was right on the edge of that white knuckling where I was like, well, I took on these jobs. I decided to do this. And yes, I could have sent somebody out to do this job for me, but we wouldn't have gone as far in the company. The guys wouldn't have learned as much. They wouldn't have felt as confident to the point where we literally installed a fountain that's like 12 feet tall. It was sketch. And they're like, let's do another one. Can we go bigger? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's sell another one. And they're like, dude, this is awesome. Like, this is the type of work we're going to do. And it's like, you want that excitement for your crews. You know, this job was very daunting for all of us at first. You know, we've done a couple other ones that were just as big, but the big fountain piece was something that we've never done. And it was like,
that kind of excitement that keeps people around is beyond valuable.
So,
because imagine your churn rate for your employees if they're like, oh God, I got this client again. I got this job to do.
They're gonna drive by and be like, look what we did.
Well, yes, and when they do that, there's pride behind that work, you know, and they're like, that pride, man. Like,
but you have to, as business owners, you have to understand that we have to put in that work to see that outcome. I see my guy just knocked out this amazing job. I sold it, I quoted it, everything, and you know, but they did it. They did it all. And the very end, the touches, the part that really matters, that everybody pays attention to, they crushed it. And I'm just like, man, that's awesome. And it's like, but they see, look at that big ass fountain. Like, look at that fountain. I'm just like, that was a liability. That was a risk, you know, but you did it and you're super happy. But it's like, man, you're right. It is exciting because that crew just brings a lot of energy and a lot of excitement to the company. You know, there's a couple of crews that do that same thing, you know, and both of those crews they white-knuckled it with us whenever we weren't put together. We weren't ready for them. They were rolling around in clapped-out trucks that barely made it to work sometimes, you know. They rolled around. They would go to job sites without equipment or without material. They're literally like, I can't do anything. So they hand dig stuff. Like, those were the crews that were through there, and now at the end of it, they're you can really see they're giving back, you know, and I think that just goes back to adaptability because it's like you go from, we talk about all the time, the different hats you have to wear as a business owner, right? Thankfully, at some point, you start letting go of a couple of those hats. Braden takes care of the marketing hat. Well, his team does. But nonetheless, they do. I would hate to have to manage that for our business now.
I do tell my team that, like, a lot of times when I receive praise, I tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, I can't do this alone.
Right.
And then 90% of the time go back to my team and say, hey, I heard this. Good job, guys.
Right.
You know, you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah. When you lead a team, if it's praise, you're a window. If it's critique, you're a mirror.
There you go. I like that.
And so, like, that's how you do it, is being able to say, like, oh, yeah, it's the team. You know, I'm honored to lead. It's great. If it's a critique, hey, this did not go well. Hey, it's my fault.
Yep. I gotta fix it.
You wasn't even here. It's my fault.
Right.
I told my team recently too. I was like, when we rise, we all rise. When we fall, we all fall.
That's it.
And so if I call somebody out, it's because we're keeping each other accountable. It's not me dogging on you. Right. Okay. And everyone else is going to keep you accountable too. If you show up late to work every day and I call you out on our team meeting and I said, Devin, Bobby, whoever, like, quit showing up late. And you're like, well, you just did that in front of everybody. I'm like, they're seeing it too. They're
know-
just as frustrated. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
if you don't like me acknowledging it, you don't want people to know about it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Come
It's
on.
simple.
What would Jesus do?
Okay, so with that, I love that you brought that up because again, it comes down to we'll throw Jesus in there. I don't really know the scripture, but I'm sure maybe Kyle can help me. But you know, you must discipline your kids. You know, something in the discipline aspect. You know, you have to keep them accountable. You have to show standards, right? I love that you say that because I had a guy leave on us. Part of being adaptable, right? Here we go. 3 weeks ago or so, just straight up left. Now we've been starting at 6 o'clock in the morning because it's 105 degrees outside. You try to beat that sun out. This guy was gone by 9 o'clock in the morning. He called somebody to come get him in the middle of the day. Now my little brother manages that entire department, and he's like, "Hey, we need to have a meeting." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" He's like, "Well, this guy just left." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's have a meeting." You know, he's looking for advice. He's trying to figure out how to lead and how to manage his crew. Well, we had just had a meeting 2 days prior we have a safety meeting every 2 weeks. And here lately, we've implemented core values, we've implemented structure. And every 2 weeks, I offer out $20 for some specific whatever correlated to our core values. Well, this week in particular, I decided to allow anyone to gift someone $20 if they could say one core value that they exhibited, an example of that core value, and when they exhibited that. I waited like 3 minutes, which is a long time when there's 20 dudes standing around poking jokes at each other. And it's like, okay, will somebody just give away this $20? Like, I'm asking you to give away this $20. Like, dude, you could just tell your friend, I'm going to tell you a core value and we'll buy this 12-pack for after work, whatever. Right. Nobody did it. And at the end of it, right before I was about to say, I'm done, my little brother says, "Man, you know what? I'm gonna say one." I said, "Okay, what's yours?" He's like, "I want to say something about my foreman. You know, my foreman in UK." He's like, he shows up every day before 7 o'clock, before 6 o'clock. Usually shows up 10, 15 minutes early. He's like, he checks his oils in machines every single day. I catch him every single day checking his oils. He straps out his machines right. This guy is ready to go before his crew ever even decides to show up. And he's waiting on me. He's like, so one of our core values is work ethic and accountability. And he's like, and that dude is accountable. His work ethic is there. 2 days later, this guy shows up about 25 minutes late. Well, Enrique's been waiting. His crew's waiting in the truck. Now, we don't mind them having to wait, but clean your truck, clean your stuff. At some point, there's literally nothing else you can do. Truck is spotless. You know, it's just, it literally, there's nothing else you can do. And they're just waiting for this guy. Well, I believe, and he never said anything, but I believe there was some shit given because he was late. And all that was we held accountable in praise fashion. Hey, he shows up in front of everybody. He shows up on time. He does this. He gets $30 because he shows up every day. So he gets his monthly $30 bonus just because he shows up on time every day. Oh my gosh. You get $30 just to show up on time? Like, you're supposed to do that. Yeah. We give you $30 for that. That's praising, right? In public for all of them. And he got $20 that day because the same exact thing. Now there's somebody on his crew that's affecting his performance. That he was holding him accountable. Yep. Well, that day he didn't like it and he decided to leave. Well, then we get into the office and we realize that now we're hurt. There's a 2-man crew out there. It's 105 degrees. We're hurting. And we know that the times aren't going to ease up on us for the next 6 weeks or so. It's like, so what do we do? So we sit down, we talk, and we're kind of like going over our options. Hey, so is he coming back? What are we going to do? Like, he's actually got some experience. Like, what's our options here? And then my older brother, my partner, says, if we look at our core values, he violated every single one of them by leaving today. And I was like, holy shit, you're right. He's like, I don't think it's in our interest to bring him back. And it's like, whoa, this system that we put into place, this process
is applicable. It's practical.
It's practical. But not only that, it helps gear your adaptability, right? So what did we do? We shuffled some crews. We made something happen. And you know what? We're going into wintertime here in the next 8 to 10 weeks. So really, let's not hire on somebody that we're going to have to lay off in a couple months. Like, that's just not who we are. We'll just tough it out and we'll get through it. And it just was beautiful to see how all of that worked together, where the core values, the adaptability, and it's like just the accountability between everybody. It's like it comes to yourself saying it's my responsibility. You're right. Maybe not necessarily my fault. I didn't cause it per se, but it's our business. It's our choices that affect everybody's. And whenever the business is slacking, it's usually a direct look at ourselves, and lack of accountability on ourselves. And dude, that's hard because you said, your coach, thank God you have a coach. I wish I had a coach. I should get one.
I know a coach.
I know a guy too, man.
He's good.
He's good. Oh, man, he's good too. I was so excited to see him today. Anyways, but like I said, just the adaptability in that and just the fact that you're constantly adapting different ways. I talk about that because that was like 3 weeks ago. And then now this week I've been working on equipment. And it's like, what the hell? That's how adaptable you have to be in the business. You have to be okay with taking on whatever comes next and just moving on. I mean,
Put different hats on.
You have to have a clear
do
understanding of what you want and what you need in the business too.
I agree with
And
that.
that's going to fluctuate
Absolutely.
forever.
And I think it should, because it helps you evolve your business.
Yeah.
You think about it. Whenever you started your business, did you want the same thing you want out of it now?
Nope.
Because if you did, would you be as far as you are now?
Or as content.
I mean, I think about it, and it's like, do I want the same thing? Kinda. But I want the same bigger picture. The goal is the same. Right.
Some
But
stability with growth.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, we talked about this in one of our podcasts too, right? Your goal is the same. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's like this huge company. Like, I want to be Roto-Rooter for Tulsa. Like, everybody's going to know who we are.
Have you heard their radio ad lately?
No.
They say it so clear because they used to say Roto-Rooter.
Oh.
Right now it's Roto-Rooter.
Yeah. They
So
really
they
emphasize
really
the T's.
emphasize the T's
Okay.
in it.
Anyways.
I just thought that was interesting.
Cool
That's-
story,
I
bro.
heard it
Anyway,
But in my I noticed that because that's
you're in marketing.
somewhat marketing and branding.
Absolutely.
Right? Because why did they feel the need to emphasize the T's?
Yeah.
Is that because people were misspelling their name with
Probably.
D's? They were like Roto-Rooter, and they noticed that in Google search results people were searching and finding their websites through
Come
D's,
on.
Yeah.
and they were like, "No, we need to start emphasizing
when
that
you
we are
wonder why we hire
Roto-Rooter."
SMS.
right.
Yeah. So I don't know the reason why, but there's something that
There's something there.
made them shift that, and the owners or whoever was like, "This is important," right?
You see how he just put that hat on?
Because they said Roto-Rooter
right.
for years.
Years.
Boom.
Yeah, I heard it
last-
Roto-Rooter,
yeah, the little
that's
jingle.
name. And now they stopped that.
They said, forget the jingle.
Yeah.
Let's
Forget the
make sure people know how.
People need to Google the right thing.
Right.
That's interesting.
It was like a week ago I heard
just
it.
bought the.
I was like, why did they just they pronounced that extremely hard? Like, yeah, maybe. Because it used to be like D Red.
It was.
Rooter.
That's weird. I love that you noticed that. Now I'm gonna every time I hear, I'm gonna be like, God dang it, Brandon. And Brandon just shoved it in my face that those T's, they're annoying me.
So that was one of the things we wanted to talk about was the importance of retaining talent and team members in your business.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool how we just, man, I love how some of these conversations just naturally
Yeah.
Just
flow.
weave into it.
Shoot.
He probably read that sheet before we started.
No, I totally
No.
didn't this time.
You don't read it either, do you?
No. I go in, I scan.
Just the
I
Lord.
skim it. I'm being honest, at least. I mean, don't lie.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
I
show
skim
style
it.
anyway. So yeah. So tips and advice for those thinking about starting their own business. Go.
You want the truth or a lie?
Yes.
Don't do it.
No, I think do it. But definitely make sure, okay, for one, make sure you can bring income in. Make sure that you can get clientele or make sure you can sell whatever you're trying to sell. Don't jump off and be like, oh, I need to go get an LLC. I need to go do this. I need to go get an EIN. I need
Insurance.
to get insurance. If you spend 3 months doing that and you spend thousands of dollars doing that and then you start it and then you don't make anything, now you're down in the hole. You got all these liabilities that you have to, go to the state to. And to even like get rid of it and dissolve it, there's a whole bunch more paperwork behind that.
Okay. I changed my answer. Chance is right on the money. Do the work before you
Get
do the
income.
paperwork.
Yeah. Make some coming in.
Get customers.
Yeah.
Well,
Send
before you-
emails.
before
Get
you-
people built on appointments.
I
or-
like that, but I would go a step backwards. And I would say build it before you promote it because promoting it will become even easier. Build a great product.
have an
and
idea
build-
of what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but make sure you have your bases covered too. So if you don't have either find the funding or build the funding yourself. But make sure you've got your bases covered: license, insurance, find a bookkeeper.
I don't agree with that.
I don't
Make
think
sure-
so.
I don't
I
agree
do.
with that.
I do, and I'll tell you my experience is why. Because you wait until something happens to where you go, oh shit, I should have made a legal document.
I'm not okay.
Oh
Here,
man,
let me.
I should have had insurance, because I've been in both situations that have cost me tens of thousands of dollars over and over again because I didn't set up ahead of time.
But how long did that happen? Did it happen within 2 days, or did it happen like 6 months down the road?
It doesn't matter how long it
Yes,
took,
it
though,
does.
because those opportunities could have happened within 1 month or 10 years.
We get hit by an asteroid, it can happen. I
You're
mean,
right.
come on now.
So what
So-
can I do? What can I do to reduce my liability and risk? Right. That's one of the things that a lot of business, being in business, that I believe that you have to do. That's what I want to do. I've been bitten.
That's all you.
Clearly,
do,
you can
is
tell I've been
mitigate-
bitten.
You mitigate
Yeah.
risk.
But I want to
I
reduce my
think
risk.
everybody in this room's been bitten by it.
Right.
Yeah.
But what can you do to reduce the risk and liability, and basically increase profits or whatever else? Right.
Just have an overall plan. Know what you
uh,
kind of want to do.
Listen, man, this is hard. I think it depends on the business you start.
Totally.
Okay. You're a lawn mowing.
Yeah, and it's a perfect
Common
example.
lawn mowing
Listen,
business.
listen.
Okay.
This is why I think you should just start and worry about all the paperwork in the back end. You should maximum 1 year.
Yeah. at
But-
the
Okay,
absolute
Okay, there we go.
most.
So
But-
now you're building, okay, by this date in
But
business.
within 1
you
year,
should.
you should have filed your taxes. You should have had an LLC. You keep receipts from day one. You keep all
Keep
your
receipts from day
your-
negative 100.
Yes, you take.
If it's the same
right,
fiscal year,
right.
you keep those
You keep
receipts.
everything, but LLC, IRS, you can backdate all of that within the first year.
We're not
you want to
saying you
get
should
that
do
over
that.
with. No, I'm not saying you should.
It's not
I'm
any
not-
tax
it's not.
advice.
But again, we're talking brand new business owners, like
There's a
literally.
disclaimer
look,
that this is not tax advice.
this is
Please
not- this is not advice. I
You
just
know how they do those little.
Yeah.
Yes.
listen. I'm
Oh,
just
sorry.
telling you real practical advice. I feel like for anybody who's genuinely
Practical suggestions.
look, chances
so choose to take them.
right. Listen, you're gonna waste the money
Yeah.
one
will.
way or the other.
Yeah.
Have proof of concept first, and the best way
There
to
you
do
go.
that
It's practice.
is
It's
to
get
just
into
get
it.
Just
after
go.
it.
Okay, so for example, that's
so
what I
if
did with
you're
Blue Studio.
mowing, just get after it. Don't go buy the baddest,
$600
most awesome.
bad or $6,000 bad
Yeah,
boy,
no.
72 inch with
You go
lights.
start
and,
with whatever you can afford from Lowe's. And terrible advice, but if you have to take a credit card, take a credit card. But start with mediocre stuff.
the bare minimum
because
to get
you
it
will
done.
start to appreciate as you move up, right? So you don't know what crap is until you've used crap.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you get nice stuff, you will take very good care of it because you've had that crap that gave you all these hassles, right? Like, it's just the reality. But in my particular business, mowing, we'll say at the very basic of it, there is a need for that $35 a yard guy. I'm not that guy. That doesn't mean those people shouldn't be taken care of. There's enough grass for everybody, and there's a market for you to start. Now, do I think you should stay there? Absolutely not. And if that's your plan, you shouldn't start a business. Frankly, you should not.
It's not
It's
sustainable,
not. It's
right?
it's not sustainable. But we start businesses to take care of other people. If you're only in business to take care of yourself, you're not really taking care of a bunch of other people.
Okay, I want to play a little bit
So-
of devil's advocate to continue on with what you're saying here.
Okay. Okay.
When you're ready.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is you could start there and start making some money. Eventually, you need to talk to the CPA. Eventually, you need to figure out your numbers. You need to figure out what your man-hour rates are. You need to do all that stuff. But do you need that to go knock on some doors and ask people if they need? No, absolutely not. Go load the back of your Honda with your mower and go knock on some doors. Next year, you might end up with a nice little jalopy of a truck. And then the year after that, you might get some nice new mowers on a trailer. And guess what? Your poor old truck, you're not going to replace that for a while because that's quite a big investment. But you got 0% interest on your mowers and your trailer. It'd be stupid not to take advantage of that if you're a smart business owner. Again, from the get-go, just get after it.
Make money.
Just get after
Proof
it.
concept. Get
Proof of
stuff
concept.
coming
So
in.
you've heard of the line, build it and they will come. It's not always applicable though.
I heard it on Bench
Okay,
Warmer.
So you can So, okay, hold on. Before I continue, are these pillows cool or is it just me?
No, I like
Those are great.
I didn't get one.
So I've only got here. You can borrow mine. Eat, sleep, podcast, and repeat. What's that? That one says.
No, I'm
Just another beer drinker with a
Just another beer
podcast problem.
nice.
That's what it is.
How's that pillow, man?
Feels good.
Nice.
Makes my shoulders
But okay,
set a little
go
better.
So
ahead.
if you guys are listening, you guys should watch the YouTube video and watch Chance cuddle this pillow.
You will be jealous, I'll tell you that.
Look at those big old muscles holding that pillow tight.
Okay, so build it and they will come. So a lot of people will expect, they'll say, hey, I'm going to build a website. And all of a sudden I'm going to get all this traffic, leads, and everything else. That doesn't happen. The other example part of that, build it and they will come. Blue Studio, started that a year and a half ago-ish, last May. This thing isn't just popping off, bursting and whatever, right? But then maybe there's also something behind that could have been a reason why, like, it hasn't. Maybe it hasn't been pushed correctly, right? Maybe it wasn't built correctly from the get-go, from what the market is demanding. Maybe it's the equipment, the software, the setting, the lighting, the positioning, whatever it is. There's a number of different reasons on maybe why Blue Studio hasn't just blown up, right? It's not like there's not people out there looking to record, let their voice be heard and stuff, right? And start conversations, just like what we're doing today. But even like the whole trying to reduce liability and stuff too. So like one of the things we're going to be looking at today is with future guests, we want a release form. Like, Kyle, if you say something today, it's live. Like, it's being recorded and everything else. If I get another phone call again, I got to step away. And so like, what if you say something and it gets published and you go, I didn't want that published, there's liability, right? So when I say some of the devil's advocate things, like, I want you to think through the whole process to try to like figure out to make sure that you're covering your CYA, cover your
Makes
ass.
sense. Yeah,
right?
I get that.
And so like, okay, let's say lawnmower, right? Your lawn mowing business. You're not a lawnmower. Lawn mowing business.
He's just brown.
Nice.
Thankfully, that one wasn't really, recorded. Maybe. Oh, I don't know.
No, yeah, it's definitely
Ah,
recorded.
sweet. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, we
Perfect.
caught that.
I've only known you for like 15 years,
Yeah.
if not longer. So it's not.
I would go
2.5
more like
years. It's a little different.
typical lawnmowers from your goats. You know?
Ooh.
Okay,
I'd be a
so
goat.
okay, so what if you have the capital and the resources? Let's say you've got $50,000 to start a lawn mowing business. Does that mean you should not buy the best equipment to be able to
How did
be
you get
most
your
efficient?
50,000?
I don't know, mom and dad gifted it. Somebody, family member died, and you got some of the money. Maybe it came from real estate.
You didn't build
Maybe
the
it come
skills
from-
to manage that business.
Maybe
or
it
manage
came
that
from
money.
your own, busting your own ass, right?
It's different.
If you busted your own ass and you got 50,000 in savings to start a new business, I don't think that you're going to go out and you're going to spend $50,000.
You yourself aren't gonna.
I know for a fact I wouldn't, because me and my brother in a very almost identical situation. We're like, hey, we got some money. We want to start something. What are we going to do? So he called me today at lunch when he got off, and he's like, hey, I got another idea. And I was like, hold on, because I answered on my phone or my watch because I was cleaning the house. And I was like, hold on, let me get to my phone. He's like, you're stopping the progression of our lives. And I'm like, just give me a second. It's like 10 seconds. Shut up. He's like, got it.
It's all about compound interest. Those 10 interests are important. There's 10 seconds were important.
Not for him when he's just sitting at
Every
home
10
eating Taco
seconds
Bell
matter.
on lunch. Either way, he's like, dog washing. I was like, okay, for step one, why? He said, I've been calling for the last 3 days, and I cannot get my dog in somewhere to get groomed. And he said, everyone's a month and a half out. And I've had his dog taken to the groomer before, and it's
I'll
like,
match you on a poop scoop.
oh, like somebody to walk around and do it?
Dude, I paid for it. Why wouldn't somebody else?
So he's like, hey, they're putting in these strip centers right there in Glenpool. Leasing's supposed to be less than $1,000 a month. He said, start looking at how much we're going to spend. I said, dude, I think we can be in equipment less than $5,000 to $7,000. I said, then we can insurance and overhead and all that. But that's like because we understand business and overall and all that. I was like, dude, let's start it. I said, I'll go start looking for tables. I said, I'll start trying to find people to put in. I'll talk to them about leasing. I said, let's do it.
I know
'Cause-
somebody that can do that.
Dude, they're like $105 for a dog grooming that you can take 40 minutes. So if you get 10 of those a day, there's $1,000 a day. You're not paying your worker a good amount, $100 a day, $120 a day.
So again, I love doing the math. But then again, if you build it and they will come, does not hold true.
Not always.
From what I've seen others
but
do,
exceptions
the
don't make
stories
the
I've heard.
rule.
Correct.
So
correct.
I love this. I love that this is happening right now because I love your idea. But the reason why I like the poop scoop idea is a whole lot less capital and a lot less risk. You need a shitty little old truck,
Little Ranger.
a bucket, a little Ranger, little Tacoma, a bucket, and a shovel. That's it. And boom, the business is gone. It's live. That's all you need. And you yourself needs 5 minutes to go walk in somebody's backyard, scoop up some dog poop, and you make $20. Now, I get it. Proof of concept, right? Proof of concept. It really, in $20, what do you need out of your business? If you're trying to make $2,000 out of your business, you're going to need a couple trucks running for you every week. You're a lot more than just running that one truck, but you can get started, right? Dog washing, wonderful idea. But the reality is those strip malls are expensive. It's expensive to get into. All the insurances and everything you have to do.
Yeah, you get renter's insurance,
I would
business insurance.
almost see again, just because depending on how you started, depending on his idea of hey that you build it, they will come. That scares me because that's one thing that I never.
I'm not saying that's true.
No,
I'm just saying that's a statement that people say.
Right, but let me explain why. And I'm not saying it won't work. In my particular business instance, I had tried to start multiple businesses. Right. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse me. None of my other businesses ever really made it. Right.
But
and
why?
Lack of customers.
Why?
Attention.
Lack of marketing.
Why?
Because I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay. What if you knew what you were doing and you had the
And
resources and the capital?
I understand.
Right.
I get that. I get that 100%. But the one thing that I never had to fight in this business was customers. I had people knocking at my door.
It's because of the industry.
Because
and the
of
demand.
the industry, the demand.
Supply and demand. That's your basic business 101.
And experience and time in the industry already. So my name was already known in the industry.
Which made it a lot easier.
So it would be, so the only reason I say that is because going into something like a dog washing or a poop scoop company, the first thing that came to mind whenever you guys started talking is franchise. Franchise, right away. Because my idea of a poop scoop company, yeah, it's simple. It's on paper. But the reality is, then comes in Braden's mind of, hey, what about the liabilities? What if somebody gets bitten? What if the gate gets left open and somebody's dog gets out? And it's like, dude, dogs are expensive. We talked about Maria's dog. However, I don't even remember how much that dog is. But you talk about all these things, and it's like, whoa. Okay, it goes back to the, hey, don't just start. Think about it, right? A franchise isn't a bad option because all I have to do is buy a nice, shitty old white truck and I can franchise poop911.com or whatever. And all of a sudden, they're marketing. They're doing all our stuff for us. They're doing the back end work and they have all the liability, all that covered. So, yes, start a business, but I love that this is happening because at the same time, I think it just depends on how you got that money.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just depends on your experience. It's hard to say
everyone should do this or should not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, you're going to make your own mistakes. It's just the reality. But don't be afraid to make mistakes because guess what? You'll make another one.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be bigger next time.
So we're today actually we're supposed to record a sponsored a featured episode, a bonus episode this morning.
Yep.
That got pushed back 2 weeks, so we're hoping to record that one. But this gentleman is successful by just perception, terminology wise. Like it's like, okay, well, I've seen all the several companies, 7 or 8 businesses, power washing, home builders, dumpsters, restrooms, landscaping, cannabis, like there's probably 2 or 3 more that I don't even know about. Okay. This guy sold one of his businesses for $2 million, started 2 other businesses from that money. I believe 2 others. We're going to hear a story, so I don't want to spoil the fun, but it's going to be a really good one. So he has now built the capital and resources. And the conversations that you'll have with this guy, he goes, I've got screw you money and I've got resources. I just need some help making something happen. I need somebody to do it, right? So what he does now is he now finds people to do whatever it is that he needs them to do and then just makes a business and sets up the systems and walks away.
So, okay, that's where we all want to be.
Right. So that's not the common person though.
But right. So
But how did he, one of the things I want to know is like, how did you get from where you started in your 20s to now where he's a little bit older than I think all of us here to be able to have that kind of capital?
I think it's
and
a
resources
mindset, both a mindset. Yeah.
And you've got to be disciplined
White
AF in
knuckling
order
when
to
you
make
got
that
to.
happen.
Well, and that's the thing is like, dude, it gets easier, but I think it gets easier because you understand where you need to fall. So if you bring up like your question prior to that was for a new business owner, where would you start? Then you mentioned $50,000. It's like, well, in my head, you're still a new business owner. I know for sure that all of us in here starting another business would have a lot better odds than we had at the beginning of our start of our journeys. Period. Right? Our odds were not very good. But at this point, our odds are a little bit better because we understand process. Mm-hmm. So whether you mentioned, hey, if I got to close this down and go get a job, okay, but you understand that starting something else, you know exactly what actually goes into it.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, okay, well, I do need to think about this and how am I going to get my customers? How am I going to bill them? How am I going to, there's all this other stuff that goes into it. And you mentioned this, and it's somebody that he's got resources through his network, right? He knows the right people and he understands the value of money. And so now that is a different person than just $50,000 new business owner. You're not going to, everybody.
That's not common. No, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
And so you bring in like just get started, right? And so one of the things that I think that we're going to learn a little bit from somebody who has done this several times and has probably had some failures from it, I'm sure, and some that failed that he still does not have. And so building the systems, the process, the branding, the visions, the core values, the whatever it is ahead of time has to make a difference. Because if he's able to take a business from 0 to 7 million in 4 years, 3 years, then it did take him to do that once in 8 years. Now he's doubled that. And he's done that 3 more times and twice as fast.
Right.
From what I know.
And
that's my disclaimer that from what I know.
Is man, once you do it once, it's easier.
Think about the time in the game.
Yeah, think about whenever you first.
So my power question here. I'm sorry. My power question here. How do you expedite that when you're just getting started?
I don't know if you can.
No, I believe you can, but you need to know the right people. This was like what we were talking about on one of our last few episodes. We're like, how do you know you're connected with the right people? Right?
You fail fast, and you fail forward.
It was with Nick Wood, wasn't it? He's like, you know the right people.
Right. And it does come down to knowing the right people, but the only way you're going to find the right people is by knowing the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to fail fast, you need to fail forward, and pay attention. This is going to sound ridiculous, but you need to work on yourself in order for that. Because there's no way, dude, we are not attracted to each other because of looks, because of, because of... what you do in your life or anything. We're attracted to each other because there's certain vibes that we give off each other. We understand we hold ourselves to our certain principle, to our certain standard. The only reason you're able to recognize that is because you are that person. If you're new, man, you're going to have to hang out with a lot of people. A lot of those people may not be the great option for you to hang out with. It's not saying you shouldn't hang out with them. There's still things you could learn from these people, but...
learning what not to do is just as important as learning what to do.
Right. But at the same time, you can be guilty by association. And I know in the housing industry at the moment, there's some stuff going on. And simply put, I mean, if you're related in any way, shape, or form to a certain name, I'd rather not work with you at the moment. Why? Because you're hanging out with the right people. You're hanging out with the wrong people. Now, again, kind of have to work on yourself to realize that, if you're just having fun, you're running a business and your friends are having fun and they're running a business and they're not really thinking about, hey, what about long-term? What about, retirement? What about my employees?
I'm glad you mentioned that because when you're starting your business, like a lot of people, let's say they leave a corporate job to start their business. Well, there goes your 401k.
Right.
There goes your health insurance.
Right. Right.
What about business insurance? What about workers' comp?
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Key man insurance? There's all these different things that like nobody really thinks about before they get started. So that's why I made the comment about like take your step back before you just jump the gun and try to have conversations with coaches like Kyle and other business owners, like listen to some podcasts like Brews and Business to like gain some experience from other professionals.
Yeah, I've
who
listened to
have
that
been in
podcast. It's pretty good.
It is pretty cool. It's not bad.
It's pretty good. Anyways, I would agree with
Right.
that.
And I feel like that is one of the ways I can help expedite that process. So like next year's my 10 years in business. I'm not where I wanted to be 10 years. From when I first started, I was like, oh yeah, I want to be there. Well, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know you looked at that, and even probably you did too. We all did here, and we all do it. So again, how can you shorten that timeline? Time is the most valuable thing. And I think you've said this a few times. I've watched some of our videos, and Mason has too. Mason said something about time. And he is all about time this year, man. Like his daughters, he's like, forget money. My daughters are so important to me right now. Like I will pay somebody to do something because I don't have the time to do it. And I'd rather be with my daughters. Right. So, but again, we want the same thing. So that knowledge, the resources, being with the right people, before you get started, my advice is to like, try to cover your butt, try to find some good people, try to build your brand ahead of time before you actually get started, because it can set you apart from everyone else who does pooper scooper 911 versus, poopy scoopy. And that's some cute little brand that you run, and it's got some cool thing to it. And you got like some polos or right. And it's got some meaning to it. And you've actually learned how to establish an LLC correctly, or business insurance or taxes. And you've met with the CPA, like you've done your homework before you're just like, I'm going to be a business owner.
Yeah. But I don't think you should keep all those steps. I don't think those should stop you from starting your business. That's why I say sometimes you just got to start, because it can get really daunting to do all that. And like I said, man, how about, I get all that, but how about you try to make your first dollar first? And then the excitement comes. And then you really should pay attention to all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think,
Because until
Kyle?
your first dollar comes out, it's really hard to, until your first dollar comes in, it's really hard to get like excited about your business.
Yeah. So I had the idea to start my business, and 2 weeks later, I started my business.
Love it.
So, and I left all of those things: salary, 401k, benefit package,
Health insurance,
the whole bit. Salary, all that stuff, full package to
Security gone.
zero, with no idea on how to be a business. Had never done it before. Ever. So I went to, like any good millennial, I went to YouTube. And I said,
YouTube.
And I said,
YouTube certified.
How to start a business. That was the first search. And I just started binging. And I started taking notes. Because what else did I have to do? Nothing. I have a business.
Ain't got no job.
My job was to learn. And then how to get clients. How to set up a program. And so I like saying, hey, there's some steps you should take. But the first one that I did is I went and talked to someone that is where I wanted to be. And I said, hey, what's step 1, 2, and 3? And it was make a sale. Make another. And it wasn't until probably 18 months in that I set up some of the things that you talk about. Because I found a CPA that said, okay, now like you're making enough that the IRS cares. Before it's like, you kind of got a hobby. I know you're sustaining your family, but you kind of got a hobby. It's just like, you doing all right. It's kind of like a, Etsy Plus store.
This is a very stressful hobby.
Right. But there's some things that for me, it's going, okay, if we can figure out what anchors you, then just start talking about it. I mean, I asked some of my first clients, like, why did you say yes to me? They're like, you were so damn excited about helping that I figured surely you'd find some way to help me.
I love that.
And
you did.
And I did. But again, with me, I'm service-based. I don't have equipment. I don't have there's some liability and I make sure that like what I do at coaching is not counseling, is not therapy. Like I have some distinctions, but really like 2020 created probably of that 1.2, probably like 800,000 is like, I'm a coach. No, you're not. No one's listening to you. But part of that is going, okay, just get started if the industry allows you to get started.
Right. If the market's there.
Like, if you're doing something that requires capital, requires an investor, requires equipment, like, no, you need to get all your stuff in line.
Yeah.
But then know how you're going to make that back.
Yeah. See, I think it just varies.
It's
I love how you
industry
say
specific.
that.
Yeah.
Because literally for us, dude, we started literally with a $400 beat up old truck, and we went to Lowe's, and we were so excited to find a sale on wheelbarrows that we bought 2 instead of 1. That was our very first investment
Business purchase
in the business.
Come
mean,
on.
we had borrowed mowers, borrowed trailers, everything borrowed.
And you're like, this is mine.
And we had do we spray paint? We bought spray paint too, and we spray painted ARC on them. We're like, yeah, we got ourselves some. And then we broke our back that whole day and moved a whole dump truck load of fucking sand
Come on.
with wheelbarrows uphill.
Both ways.
Yeah. And guess what?
Barefoot.
Yeah,
In the
that's right.
snow,
In the
110
snow.
degrees out,
It was terrible.
raining.
No
It
t-shirt.
was terrible.
clouds
Yeah.
everywhere,
But
sun beating down on
but
me.
you know what? We did it again the next day.
Yeah.
And then you did it again the next day.
And that's
And the
what,
next day.
that's what I love about business journey is that everybody's journey to what they do is different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. I think the most important thing in how we can, the original question, how can we shorten the time? Find somebody doing what you want to do
That's 5-10 years ahead.
and go ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my coach, biggest level of his success is he'd find somebody doing what he's doing that has the knowledge he believes could get him and go, hey, what's a weekend with you like? Like, what's it cost? Okay, I'll pay that.
Or one that I've heard too is said, hey, Kyle, I liked what you're doing and I appreciate blah, blah, blah. I want to be like you. I will come work for you for free.
Yep.
And do whatever you need me to do. I just want to be around you.
Just want to be around.
Well, I think that's you guys make some good points there. It's yeah, you have to be surrounded by the right people. But if you're thinking, again, brand new business owner, and you're listening to podcasts like this, you're already on the right step.
For sure.
And I think you'll learn.
A lot of business owners don't do this. They don't listen to those podcasts because I'll be honest, listen to a sports podcast, dude, get you hype. You're all excited. Listen to a business podcast, it does, but it's a different type of. You're in a journey with these people.
Mm-hmm.
You're not listening to a game everybody's excited about. It's completely different. So if you're just starting your business, frankly, and you're listening to podcasts similar to this one, dude, you're already on the right track because you're already trying to develop yourself. You're already trying to develop your people, your network. Who I was looking for at the beginning of my business is not who I'm looking for now. But perfect example, and I say that, and I've said that before to people, is your friends should change. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you stop being friends with people, but there are certain periods of your lives where you do need to anchor yourself to someone, learn from them, have them guide you through certain journeys, and frankly, don't be afraid to do it. It sucks sometimes to just be like, man, it's funny you say that because I literally did a job for somebody the other day, not too long ago, and I was like, hey, man, I'm going to cut you a great deal on this in one condition. He's like, what's that? I was like, I need a Friday with you that I can have some drinks, and I just want to talk to you. That's already happened twice. And he's like, anytime you want, come on. I was like, hell yeah, dude. This is great.
A lot of the time, it's just like asking a girl to the prom.
That's
the
all it
answer is
is.
always no until you ask.
Right. And
right?
then,
And what's they going to say? No.
right.
Kyle will be like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I'll ask you in 6 months.
I asked,
We'll try
and
again.
you know what my no's were? I was like, well, you like beer? He was like, no, not really. I was like, oh, okay, that's a no. Damn, okay. I was like, you like whiskeys? No. I'm like, oh, man. I was like, all right, well, what do you like to drink? He's like, I just drink vodka and Gatorade. I was like, oh, okay, I'll bring vodka. And he's like, just bring. I'll have some for you too. I'm like, okay. So I still take something, but I'm like, dude, that's the thing is most of the time, people who have made it there don't mind sharing their stories. They don't mind telling their story. Why? Because, man, all they wanted to do was get through that point in their life and one day maybe get to help somebody get through that too.
People love doing that.
Because
they love talking about themselves, their journey and things like that. And yeah, you're right. They get to that point and they want to help others succeed.
Right. They're like, I got nothing else to do. So, I
got screw you money.
right.
What do I do
I
now?
learned enough. I'm gonna teach whoever I can. They say that the true master is the teacher, because he's learned it all so much that he can teach it. And the students learning is proof that they've actually turned. It's like, dude, at some point, they've done it long enough that literally like, man, I'm done doing it. I just want to help people do it.
Help the next people do it.
Right. Whether that's, hey, I got an idea for a hoop scoop business. Well, dude, that's a good idea. Come on, I'll help you do it. You got the drive. I kind of like you. Why not? Let's do it. I've got the resources. I got the know-how. Let's take that drive, because I get more excitement out of helping you do that all over again than I get, doing the same day-to-day thing that I've been doing. Like, for me, long term, that's what I keep thinking about. It's like, man, when I get done with my business, what does that look like? I'm like, it looks boring, very boring. And I'm like, okay, so what's next? Well, I'm going to sell. I'm going to do, well, yeah, I'm going to sell. Okay. But what are you going to do? Like, what are you, and that question as a man is daunting. What do you mean? You're going to sit at home and do nothing? What do you mean? Nothing?
That's okay for like the first week.
Yeah. But then you're
you
like,
start going,
yeah, I gotta move.
Okay.
I'm gonna cut the yard for the third time this week. Like you're right. You start feeling that. So
He's
it's
out
like,
there with scissors, like
right.
it's the best lawn in this whole
That's
neighborhood.
right. That's right. But that's what I'm saying is like at some point you realize that, hey, you got something bigger. So yeah, building business is very fun. But I think once you get past that, at least for me, what that looks like is you just start helping other people, whatever that looks like. Now, if someone like you came up to me and it's like, hey, I want to start a marketing business. I'd be like, look, bro, I don't know anything about marketing, but I know enough things about business. And every time they got it to a question that I didn't know the answer to, I'd be like, you know what? You need to go find somebody that knows the answer, or Google it, or YouTube it.
Or Chat GPT it nowadays.
Or Chat GPT. Like, the resources are there.
Call Kyle.
Like, right. But the resources are there, right? It's just a matter of ultimately what stops, I think, a lot of business owners is you hit a spot where you decide you're done looking. You've given up. Because I know that the only difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't is the ones they don't give up. They just keep going. Whatever that is, they keep going to the next one and the next one and the next one. And like I said, even from the get-go, you buy a couple of wheelbarrows, you get that excitement. You made that sale. Yay. And then you break your back all day.
And I'll make a quick comment before we go into the Great Resignation and your anchor. So I've heard that a lot of people fail just to do it. Like do it, figure it out later, right? Figure it out as you go. You're flying, get the airplane off the ground, and then you can repair it in the air. You're gonna have a wing fall off, and you're gonna have to fix it. Okay, you're gonna nose dive forward. Okay, the propeller fell off. Okay, put a new propeller on.
I'm not
got one in the
with
back.
You,
like, you never heard that analogy though?
I'm in.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ride, dude.
Do it
right away,
dude. It's gonna be fun,
Parachute,
though,
right?
Hey,
right?
there is
We're gonna have
a skydiving
and,
event, isn't there? Sorry, there's
It's
a
fine.
skydiving event, networking event coming up.
Oh yeah.
Sick invite.
I'd do it.
I'll do it.
I've done it.
I know you have.
Let's do it again.
I'll tag you.
Can
I'm
I strap?
down.
Can you strap me on your back?
No, absolutely not. I prefer to be
Strapped
strapped
to
to someone else.
Someone else.
That knows what they're doing.
Right.
This is my 600 jump.
Find yourself someone that knows what they're doing.
But not
Prime
too
example.
comfortable
Hey.
where they forget to pull the cord.
Right. Hey, I'd just say, I will say this. After I got done, I would tell people, I'm like, that's the most fun you can have strapped to another man. Period.
I'll say, where's
There
the
you
sound
go.
effects
Saying.
on that one?
That's weird, but it's true. It's like, that's the most fun you can have and not be weird.
So yeah, so I mean, I definitely agree with like just getting started. Like that's what I did, but I got some money and just got started. Like I just sold it and I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. But I know that in my journey that I've had so many troubles with the wrong people or with the taxes or whatever it is and legal that I'm like, I would not start another business without covering my ass. Like between Blue Studio, Brews and Business, Sports Performance Marketing, Marijuana Marketing, and Sooner Marketing Solutions, I've actually got calls with my attorneys over the next 3 weeks to discuss all 5 of those avenues. I've got different contracts to review. I've got different insurance policies to discuss with my agent. I've got I'm trying to figure out I do not want to be bit. Like you're going to come after me? Good luck.
Yeah.
Because I've covered my butt, right? And I do things ethically, but then again, it doesn't matter because somebody's going to have their own vested interest in whatever they want. And they're going to figure out a way to make it happen and screw up your day.
And they probably won't be ethical while they're doing it.
And they won't be ethical while they do it. So if you can cover your butt ahead of time, then I'm like, good luck. Like, come after me, bro. Like, you know, and especially as you start building assets and you start having more value, the business increases in value, the more net worth you have, the more
You got to insulate and protect.
you got to
Put everything in a
protect,
trust, put everything away.
you know. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
nothing.
okay, the Great Resignation. You made this comment.
Yeah, man.
What happened?
I think with disruption allows for reflection, and people, this was what was, they're reporting monthly, millions of people quitting their jobs through the pandemic.
What's one more?
And I think people were so disrupted with all of that was 2020, 2021, that they said, I realized how quickly everything can change. And so a lot of people walk around with an idea they think could work.
Good ideas.
Really good. Great ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, the cliche thing is like, what's the most expensive piece of property in any city, in any state, in any country, in any place in the world? It's the cemetery, because people go to their funerals and they get buried with ideas that could have changed the world. And so I think the Great Resignation came off of people going, I'm just going to see if it works. And I think it made for such a great, it did a couple things. One, it infused belief into people again that was laying dormant. And two, for employers, it made them go, oh God, like we've got to create environments that people want to stick and stay. So I think it was great for the overall economy of people going, you know what? I'm going to drop everything. I'm part of that. 2 weeks from idea to I'm a business owner. No, you're not. You are, but kind of, I was part of the Great Resignation. I'm part of the statistic that said, I think I can do what I've done for the last 12 years for myself. And I think that's really beautiful. Now, some have said, I would rather the stability of a job in a company, in a corporation, in an organization, and that is okay.
And it's very
Absolutely.
admirable.
And
we need those
need
people.
that.
Yes.
And so I think it was great for what it was. I know people were freaking out and it made newsworthy because then it was a Great Resignation, then it was quiet quitting, and then it was this and all of this, and then quiet firing, and Jesus, we'd label everything today.
It's
No, you
ridiculous.
just get really fired.
Yeah,
You're fired.
right.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
Right. You just say what you wanted to say. But I think with people going back into work, it did make people go, okay, hey, I have a little more belief in myself.
Yeah.
And I have a little more like, okay, at least I know now. It wasn't that things have to work. It's at least if it does or doesn't, or if it's now or later, or is it something that should be done right now or in due time.
Oh, I love that.
Hey,
Love that.
Chance, what's your anchor? And you can think on that for a minute because Kyle's going to tell us what that means.
Yeah, the anchor. I mean, what keeps you in the game when...
Your why.
Yeah, what's your why? What's your anchor? What's your, North Star? What's your thing? Like we talked about in the beginning, like you marry the model and you date the mission. The model is that anchor, the why you're doing this. And for me, like when we were prepping for this, like a huge anchor for me is my kids. And my kids will come to me one day and they ask me something, and I'm going to give them stories of betting on themselves because I did it, am doing it, will continue to do it, than theories of other people doing it. And so that's my anchor. My anchor is also the people I get to serve. Like, I know that people walk around living well below their capacity, even successful people. Because when's the easiest time to capture an animal? After they've eaten. Because they get lazy and they get complacent and you can get them. And
Gotta
so
stay hungry.
you got to stay hungry. And so those are two anchors for me. And so it's just going like, what is it the thing that when your back's against the wall, you don't know where to turn, you go, I'm still going to move forward because of this.
Lineage.
Come on.
I don't have kids yet, but I will have kids.
Right.
But that's why I'm doing it, what I'm doing. And I won't get into a whole lot of specifics right now, but even if the path you think for yourself should be, I don't even know how to say it, because I'm kind of dancing around a few things because I don't want to say a few things, but
Dance around.
I don't know how right now. I want to come out and straight out and say it, but I can't do that right at this point in time. So I want to do it for my future kids. That's what I want. I want them to be able to look up at me and be able, like how I looked and saw my father and how I see my grandfather. You know, you just like that's just dad. Like that's the whole reason that we have anything we have is because of that person. That's my why. That better not be my car.
I was just thinking that. I was like, dang, that's...
We just heard
Did
a
you
car
drive that?
start up. For those of y'all, I know y'all didn't hear it, but I heard a loud car, and Chance has got a loud car.
Yeah,
So
very
I hope
loud
that
car.
wasn't his.
Well, I don't remember if I locked it or not. I thought about that when I sat down right when you hit record, and I was like, I'd be fine. So
You know where we are, right?
yeah.
Okay.
There's a tracker in it. I'm not that worried about it. The
That's it.
insurance will give me way more than I paid for it. I'm not worried about it.
You're like, take it.
But yeah, so that's my why. My why is my future and lineage, my kids. How I see my grandfather is how I want them to see me.
Come on.
So I mean, that's why I'm going to pilot school, because I want my pilot's license. Because my great grandfather had a plane, my grandfather had a plane, and then some stuff happened. Of course, she had to sell it and stuff, but. You know, they had their pilot's license. My mom went to flight school, but she never finished. And I'm like, I want it. And me and him talked about it all the time, because it's your brother-in-law as a pilot.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I was literally looking at Cessnas the other day. I was like, man,
Yeah.
you know what?
I have a pilot license.
A drone
Drone
pilot
pilot.
license.
Bro, I'm sorry.
Ba-dum-tsh.
We're on a different level here.
Yeah. But
Give me my
like when
little
you're
Cessna, I'm
when you're
good.
over here saying, you know, the wing's falling off. Let's just put it back on while we're flying. Bro, no.
It don't work that way.
No, it don't work that way.
It's a,
grab that
it's a
parachute
great
and run.
analogy
Yeah.
in theory.
It's
Yeah.
not correct. It's not advice.
right.
You could left it right there. It's a great analogy.
You must
Yeah.
be an engineer.
Yeah. Engineer wouldn't go up with those plans.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can really describe mine like the way that you did. I can probably put it in like a few different sentences and then probably figure out whatever that sentence would look like after I just
Thought about it and wrote it out a little few times.
But I mean, it's not the first time that I've thought about it. Like, basically, my wife and I have talked about it. She's my fiance. We talked about this just the other night, and I was talking about how you really emphasized on that, because the last time that we recorded was, man, nailed it, and it stuck with me for a long time. And I talked to a lot of people about what's your anchor and what's your why and stuff. And I was talking with Leslie about it, and I was like, you need to figure out what anchors you, and it can't be like you're like, I had a motorcycle. I lose my identity and I lose who I am if I don't have my motorcycle. Well, I don't ride it anymore, at least not for now.
Oh, I didn't know, brother.
So, but like, it can't be something that like it can come and go. Like, that's not an anchor.
No. It has to be
know.
everything inside of you.
It has to be like, why in the world? Like, she goes, do you really get excited to wake up and go to work? I said, hell yeah, I do. I said, it doesn't mean I'm not tired, but I get excited to do what I do. I love doing what I do. And so she's like, well, why are you still doing it every day, 10 years later, even though you're not where you wanted to be? You really haven't hit that vision point that you had 10 years ago. I said, because I don't have another choice. I feel unemployable.
Oh,
And
God.
anytime that I've went and tried to apply for jobs, and anytime that people have applied for jobs with me, I see that some of them have histories with self-employment or current self-employment. And I go, I bet money I know exactly where they're at. And you know where they want to head. Most of them aren't ready to quite throw in the towel, but they need some security. So they're hoping that they can stay with what they like doing, provide that security while building up their own endeavors, which is fine for those who work out that deal, but that's just not what I'm usually looking for. So, I mean, I would say part of my why is like I want to, I keep saying this, and I'm thinking as I keep saying it that it actually becomes true, and you start feeling it and seeing it
It's the
come
only
to
way it works.
fruition. Is like I want to build a legacy, and I want to make an impact on people. And I'm not like trying to be a motivational speaker or anything like that. That's not me.
Yeah, Kyle's got
I'm-
that covered.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
I'm not a very good speaker, and that's probably something that's part natural and part skill based. Like I'm sure you have looked yourself in the mirror and stood there for however amount of
Thousands of
time
dollars.
and been like, saw your facial expressions, saw your body language, made adjustments, watched yourself in videos, heard yourself on podcasts, and been like, how am I able to curate this into something that I need?
So now every time I'm gonna make sure I set up straight. I got to look straight. I got to do this. And
Yeah. So like now I've got 3 kids. That's a big why for me. Another big why is like, I like toys. I want some toys, and I want some land, and I want a nice house. And I want to provide opportunities for other people like you guys. And I want to have a team with me to work together. Like when we come together on Mondays or even throughout the week, a lot of times, oh, okay, so this is something that just happened today that warmed my heart. And if they're listening, they're probably gonna be like, oh. So Maddie and Maria came into my office today, and they go, I heard them down the hall, and I'm like, okay, here comes a
here it
request.
comes.
And I love it. I know who is who based on how they walk and their sound down the hall. And
It sounds like my mom.
So when I hear them both,
Dude,
they
like
come
your
in.
kids, your employees are.
And
It's
so they go, hey,
ridiculous.
have you eaten today? And I said, no. Do you want me to buy you lunch? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, what's up? They're like, well, we know that a lot of times you don't eat lunch. And Maria was like, well, my dad works hard. He has his business in he's a logistics company I believe it's between Honduras and the United States. He like transports stuff, goods from both countries. Or to and from both or whatever. So, and she's like, my dad skips lunch a lot. And she's like, we're worried about you. And they're like, you need to eat lunch. And like things like that happen. And I'm like, okay, I got up immediately and I went and grabbed my lunch. I had it in the fridge. I didn't eat it yesterday. I forgot it. It's been sitting in there since Wednesday. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and eat it. And so some moments like that make me feel like, okay, now I've got a little bit more of a why. It contributes to my why of like, oh, why am I showing up every day? Like now, like you've got kids, you've got 15, 20 kids. I don't have that many, but they're all still my kids. And so it's like,
Absolutely.
that's partially another reason why I'm showing up here. Like I remind them too. I'm like, listen, don't call me your boss. I may write your checks, but I'm not your boss. Like I'm a part of this team just as much as you are. I work for you. I need you to be successful in your position in order for us all to succeed. You know, that's my spiel.
That's good.
What's your why, Abel?
That's hard. Y'all both said your kids, so I feel like that one's taken.
Well,
You
I
can
I
you don't have
kids.
to.
No, I'm just kidding.
Say your own
I'm
thing.
just
Like,
kidding.
even if it's the same
Look,
thing, that's
listen,
fine. You know?
Listen, I would say my kids, and I typically feel like that's the natural answer, but I have to say it's my wife.
Family.
Yeah, I would specify it's my wife if I'm being honest, just because, man, she's the whole reason I do any of it. I mean, she takes care of the kids, she does all that, and I feel like, hey, as long as I take care of her, the kids are taken care of, in a sense. And I have 3 little girls, right? It's completely different dynamic from having boys, I would assume. But if I had a little boy, man, I'd roughhouse with him, and yeah, it'd be fun. My little girls is different. You want to protect them. You want to provide for them. You want to show them what to expect. I don't really know what it's like to be a dad. Like I'm learning. I had a great role model, but having a great role model and actually doing the damn thing is way different.
Talking to a business owner versus
Yeah,
being a business owner.
exactly, way different. But I had a great role model. But ultimately, I've always said to everybody that I don't have to worry about being a good dad. I have to worry about being a good husband. And so long as I'm a good husband, my girls will know what to expect out of their partner. So I say my wife because she started
Start snapping.
right. I mean, we had our baby literally a couple months after we started the business. So we started 2 very arduous journeys back to back. And there's been 3 kids now since starting the business. And man, like the other day, I stayed at the office till 9:30 to finish that equipment. She stopped by about 3 o'clock to bring me some lunch. Her and the girls were back 6 o'clock, spaghetti for dinner. And you talk about those moments where you skip those meals,
moments.
right? You skip those meals. You skip all this. Why? Because you're already my why. Like why? Because I want to make sure I'm home on Sunday. Like that's why I'm doing this right now. Because the one day that I'm supposed to be yours, I want to be yours. So I'm gonna. Unfortunately, this is a work day. Today's gonna be a long day. And that night, I told my wife, I was like, it was such a good day. I was like, I had a great day. I was like, because I started off kind of slow, which I was kind of bummed about because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be here late because I was getting started slow. But then I needed tools. And man, having to go buy tools is never a bad time. I mean, I was excited. I was like, hey, all right. It's lunchtime. I get to go home and see my wife and kids. They weren't home, so I didn't get to see them, but they came by later. It was cool. But I went to go buy some tools, got back to work. Everything was running smooth. Then my kids came by, gave me a nice little 20-minute break, got to hang out with my family. And then I got back into it. And then the kids and the wife came back with a home-cooked meal. And it was actually kind of cool. I got to share with the guys. And one of the guys was like, you realize how long it's been since I've had a home-cooked meal waiting for me when I got back home from work. And that broke my heart. Like, it just broke my heart. Because I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I mean, I have to get home and cook. Like, my wife's in Mexico. I nobody does this for me. I'm like, it's just spaghetti. But it's different, right? He's
It's
like,
just
it's
spaghetti
different.
to you, but it's a
Right.
home-cooked
Right.
meal.
It's a home-cooked meal,
had.
right. And I was like, man, this is cool. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, my why is my people, right? And that was my wife being my number one why, my whole reason why I do everything. But at the same time, my kids and my employees, right? They're more than just my employees. These are my kids. I didn't have to go out there and share that food with them. I didn't. But the reality is, man, I know they're starving. I know they're hot. Their stomach's probably burning. All they want right now is a cold beer and a fat food plate. And a plate of food. And like ultimately it's like at the end of the day, I know what they felt like. I've been there. So we just take care of each other. And you start to realize that as your mission gets bigger, your why gets bigger. It starts with my wife, ultimately, and my kids. But ultimately, now I've got all these employees that, dude, if I don't show up for work, that's more people I'm disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more people that count on me to feed their families. And that's more people on the back of my monitor. I don't get to see it anymore, but it says I'm a creator of opportunities. I always like to think about that is I'm here to create opportunities for everybody else. And one day, I hope God will create this opportunity for me to create this life I want. All you got to do is tell me what you want to do. You want to be a foreman? I'll help you be a foreman. Like, my opportunity is obviously limited to what my tools are. But if you're here, you're willing to put in the time, I'm here to create those opportunities for you to move up so that way we can take care of each other. And ultimately, at the big end of the thing, like I said, is just hopefully someone will be there to take care of me whenever I need it. You know, it's been true so far. I've yet to have to ask for help, and there's not somebody there willing and ready at the drop of a hat. And it's like, why? Because as you guys know, I'm always trying to take care of our people, whoever that is, whether it's your family, your kids, your employees, your friends. It doesn't matter. You're always trying to help someone else. And as a man, I feel like that's part of our duty, right? To take care of our people, to take care of our village. And that's a hard weight to bear. But at the same time, it's like, well, kind of like with being a business owner, ain't nobody else going to do it. Strap on those boots, be a man, and get after it. Like, that's just part of it. You know, you have your whys. We have our people. That's really what it comes down to. But at the end of the day, it's like, why? I said, well, because I chose this. And what else are we going to do? Sit at home and watch TV? Like, come on. We can only do about a week of that. We can only do about a week of that. We'll be going crazy. But
Kyle, what's your you went over your anchor?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the word that we're all kind of talking about, and the umbrella is legacy.
Yeah.
The umbrella is paying it forward. The umbrella is allowing others to stand on our shoulders as we've stood on others.
mm-hmm.
And that's what's wonderful. And when you can identify that for yourself, you can weather the storm because you're anchored.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So we're definitely over time. I don't know.
I just looked at my watch.
This
I was
is
like,
great.
There's no way.
I
Like,
can't.
my time's wrong, right?
So
Flew by.
So
like it did last time.
Yeah.
I want to go and wrap this up and offer Kyle an opportunity to share with people who don't know who you are, because we didn't spotlight that in the beginning, And for those who didn't listen to you last time, what do you do and how can I get a hold of you? And
Yeah, absolutely. So Kyle Sullivan, Unleash the Champ. It is speaking, coaching, consulting. We stand for 4 things: leaders to thrive, teams to develop, rivals to beat, and championships to build. So if you're a business owner and you want to grow as a leader, cool. We got a track for that. You got a team, you want them to thrive, not be so siloed, have some synergy. Cool, we got that. The rivals to beat, that's the internals. Because we got to look in the mirror, like we've talked. It was a theme of today's conversation, is what is anchoring us? What is the thing that we're doing? And then culture is, I like to call it the championship run. What are you going towards, and how are you building that champion? And so I do one-on-one coaching primarily, whether it's an individual leader, business owner, or a team. So it's really fun. July 1st was the start of year 4. So, it seems wild, much like us interviewing here. It's like, dang, like it just flew by. And so I love how you said, like, you had your first kiddo shortly after launching the business. It was the same for us. Is Piper was 8 months old, and now she'll be 4 in October. And we added a kiddo. And so we joke that we have 3 kiddos, and it's a blast. And so how can people get a hold? Unleashthechamp.com. Real easy. Also have a podcast, Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast, anywhere podcasts are streamed. And I love to hear people's stories more than anything. That fuels me. That fuels the anchor. And so if you're listening today and found anything I'm saying, the conversation we're having, I'd love to hear how you benefited from it. So reach out to me, Kyle at KyleJSullivan.com. Comes directly to me, not my team. And I'd love to hear your story.
Love it. Well, we really appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in today's episode. And please give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, a share, make a comment. Let us know if you love something, if you hated it, whatever it is. We'd love to hear your 2 cents. It means the world to me, Abel, and Chance here. And feel free to tag us. Make a post and tag us at Brews in Business. That's just the letter N, Brews in Business. And suggest a topic, maybe somebody or something that we need to record or interview with. And until then, we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. Cheers and happy brewing.
Happy brewing.
Here's to next year.
Here's the next year.
Here's to the next year.
Next year. Oh.
Clink, 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 clink.